Hello and welcome to another edition of the Living Large Theater Podcast. It's Billy Santiago with my good friend of 37 years, Gary Rodriguez, our super producer, Noe Ayala. You can reach out to us at the Living Large Theater at gmail.com. We're available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Prime, and now on the YouTube channel, hashtag Living Large Theater Podcast. If you want to become a sponsor of this fine program, 956-451-1633. Rate our podcast, share with a friend, leave us a comment, and more importantly, hit that subscribe button.
Thank you, Billy. This is the Living Large Theater Podcast. Remember, to enter the theater, admission is absolutely free. All you need is a sense of humor and a hunger for entertainment. And look, today, no notes. I want you to know I have absolutely no prepared notes.
Impressive.
No notes, but I do have a couple of thoughts on my head. So
okay.
I put on social media yesterday because all the reporters, local, statewide, nationwide, worldwide, they're all poo-pooing Trump's tariffs. And so they all have their own opinion, but those opinions are based in absolute ignorance of economics, tariffs, how they work, world economy, nationwide economy. So what I put is, on my social media, I said, sorry, you will have to show me your own $1 billion before I start giving a shit about your opinion on tariffs. And to date, no billionaire has stepped up and said, well, here's my $1 billion. Let me tell you what I think about tariffs, because nobody knows what the tariff situation is. It's going to work. It's already working. And, you know, there may be some bumps and bruises, a little bit of pain initially.
I heard this morning that if we get China on board right away, everybody else will fall into place.
Absolutely. Canada's already fallen into place. Mexico was spared the tariffs because yesterday's announcement because they're already in negotiations.
And there's a lot of companies that are already planning to move their operations to the States, so it's working. You just got, you know what? You just got to give it time. If you got to have some patience. You got to have faith that what Trump is doing is going to help us down the road. A little pain right now, but 3-4 months from now, I think things will start turning around.
So
yes, sir.
The $400 you owe me, I just be patient.
You know what? Be real patient, my brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on. You may have to put a lien on his car to get that shit. The other thing is, you know, I heard that RFK, when he was being confirmed, there was the back talk that he was going to stop all these drug companies and the pharmaceuticals from running these 90% of TV content ads on television, and I still see them. And the weird thing is, here's my observation. You know, you have Latuda, you have Keytruda, you have Stellaris, you have all these drugs, essentially, and I'm sure they help, and I'm sure they're useful, but there's so many of them. But the one thing I saw that kind of cracked me up is all these people who have all these ailments. They're in the commercial, and they're all laughing their ass off. They're all smiling. Hi, I got this big rash on my neck, but look, I'm still smiling. So I want RFK to get all those off the TV. I know it's an income generator for the networks.
Let me ask you all something. What do you think about the China, is it Japan and South Korea responding to the tariffs?
What did Japan do? Because
they're hooking up with China, Japan, and South Korea. The Trilateral Summit for something about the tariffs against the U.S.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Again.
That's interesting because they weren't...
Well, here's the deal, my friend. Super producer Noe Ayala. The Japanese assess a 700% tariff on American rice that's imported into Japan.
Hey, don't we have rice here?
Well, yeah, but we want to sell it. Our rice farmers have so much rice that's coming out of their ears.
Yeah.
So we're trying to sell it to Japan. Our rice is superior to their rice, what I've read, and they have a 700% tariff on all imports of United States rice. Now, that's going to work itself out down the road, and
got to have some fried rice, man, with the Chinese.
Oh, my goodness. I prefer the steamed rice, but yeah.
Do you? No, I got to have some fried rice.
I remember a long time ago there was a story that Chinese food was making Americans fat, and the Chinese go, whoa, 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 hold on, Sparky. Our Chinese food, these are the Chinese speak, and they say our Chinese plates are predominantly rice. You guys get a spoonful of rice, and then you bury it under the sticky ribs, you bury it under the chow mein, the honey chicken, and they said your version of Chinese food is totally different from ours. Ours is healthy.
Correct.
And it's it's mostly rice is what they eat.
So what's your favorite? What do you like to munch on when it comes to Chinese?
Oh my goodness, man! There's a restaurant here in town called China Cafe. It's a $16 buffet. I'm not a big buffet guy. I don't do the Golden Corral too much. Haven't probably in 15 or 20 years. But China Cafe on 10th Street in McAllen has the honey chicken, and I'm an addict, man. I would snort that if I could.
Really? We have to bring that up to our retirement group because you did bring up that we were going to go eat there for lunch one month.
Yeah, we could probably get a group discount.
That hadn't happened yet.
Well, we need to
Gary,
do that.
You need to push that, Gary. I
Cafe.
nominate you. I'll put you on the committee.
Okay, man.
All right. Here we go.
Speaking of committees, there's a body. It's essentially a fraternity. It's worldwide, and it works on the basis of many internal communities, and it's called the Fraternity of Masonry, of which I am a member. I'm a proud member. I've been a Mason since the year 2001. I was raised in McAllen Lodge 1110, and I just recently was passed through the degrees to join the Royal Chapter of the York Rite, as well as the Order of the Knights Templar.
That's some deep stuff, Gary.
It really is. It is. However, I want to assure you, we're not plotting to take over the world, and we're not plotting to undermine society or civilization. It's a fraternity of like-minded men, and in Masonry, the motto is the Texas Masons are Texas Masons making good men better. And the Masonry, while it's a fraternity, it's not like Rotary or Kiwanis or any of that. Masonry, this is the order right here. God, family, work, Masonry. So if you don't make a meeting for Masons, it's not like Rotary where you have to go down the road to another lodge and make their meeting and sign some papers to show that you are current on your meeting. So with that in mind, and having just completed the degrees of Knights Templar, I wanted to bring in one of my brother Masons, a very knowledgeable man, especially when it comes to Knights Templar specifically, but also Masonry in general. And his name is Fabriel Cisneros, and I want to introduce him to you right now. Fabriel, thank you for being here.
Thank you all, guys.
What's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Thank you all for having us and this podcast. It's an honor. And like I said earlier, Billy, I used to listen to you, man, on the radio back in the day.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool being across from you from the
Were
table.
were your ears bleeding or?
Billy was a star, man.
Yeah.
Billy was a star.
No.
Wait, he's still a star, man. What are you talking about?
Gary and I worked together for about 9 years at B104. Gary was the award-winning newsman, the morning show. I don't know if you know this story, Fab, but he probably didn't tell it when he was going, trying to get the next round of the Masonry. But Gary used to show up like 30 seconds before he would go on air for his first newscast. And
why is that? Because I would have been partying with you before I went to work.
So I'm already there, and there's nobody in the newsroom, in the news booth, and so I'm introducing Gary, and next thing you know, he pops up, and for 4 minutes,
hey, something like this.
It's like nonstop news, and after he finishes newscast, I asked him, I go, "How did you do that?" Hey man, thank God for the monitor.
Yeah,
but the way he did it, he just didn't do it verbatim, man. He just kind of took headlines and put them in his own words.
You have to, otherwise you'll be found out that you're reading the monitor.
And it was, and after that, I was just so impressed with that, man.
I'm just glad you know how to read.
Yeah, that's one of my specialties, reading and writing, man. I used to win all the spelling bees in elementary because the prize was if you won the spelling bee at Barton Elementary in Irving, Texas, you could go have a Pepsi with Mr. Clodfelter, and Mr. Clodfelter was the principal. And, back then he was only like 50 years old, but he looked 150 years old. So, yeah, reading is definitely something I put a high priority on.
He was only 50 years old. That's how old I am.
But he was 50, but he looked ancient.
Mr. Kleinfeld. Mr. Kleinfeld?
Clodfelter.
Clodfelter.
Yeah, Clifford Clodfelter, Irving, Texas. He was the principal at L.B. Barton, and I think he went on to be a principal at one of the junior highs later on. But that was enough incentive to me to go have a ice-cold Pepsi with Mr. Clodfelter in his office while all the other kids were toiling away on homework.
Because you won the spelling bee, huh?
I won the spelling bee. I won the spelling bee. It was something I wanted to do.
That's a genius. Mark of a genius right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Masonry, how many years have you been involved with it, Fabriel?
18 years. I think since 2007, so whatever it is right now. So is it 18?
Yeah, about 18.
18 years. Those 18 years, I have been helping, assigned to grant offices 13 years. 13 years. I've been assisting with grant committees, or as a representative of the grand bodies.
Explain grand. That's the one that's related to the Grand Lodge in Waco, correct?
Yes, sir. When I say grand bodies, you got to think of it as the grand jurisdiction, like the headquarters, because we are stationed. For instance, our headquarters is in Waco, the Grand Lodge of Texas, and then there's like chapters all over the state.
Okay.
And here in the Valley, we used to have 16. Now we're down to 8. And those, you can think of them, they're lodges, but think of them as your local chapters. And since 2012, when I was worship master, you can say that as a president of my mother lodge, which is Rio Grande Lodge 81 and Brownsville. Even then, I started helping out at the grand body, level with the York Rite, the grand chapter of Royal Archmasons. And it's been a pleasure. It's been awesome. It's fun. Because you get to live Masonry more in the, for those of us that are fortunate enough to be able to be asked to help out the fraternity at that level.
Sure.
So do you know how many chapters there is in Texas itself, or it's just
honestly, I think we're like at 700 lodges, over 700 lodges.
Wow.
At the time, right now, currently.
Plotting behind doors.
See. No, that's a thing. That's a thing, man. You got to think of Masonry. It's 1717. That's when the first organizations happened. The United, United Grand Lodge of England. And that's when it finally got structured, But Masonry has been around way before then, hundreds of years before then. In our lodge, Rio Grande Lodge 81, it's the mother lodge of South Texas. We are the oldest lodge here from south of San Antonio.
Wow.
And we have an apron from Scotland, and if you do the research of the Grand Body of Scotland, Grand Lodge of Scotland, there used to be 2, but their meetings were at Catholic abbeys.
Yeah.
Back in the day, 1500s.
Wow.
Yeah.
But then you got to understand that 1717, that's when they decided in that area of Europe to be organized. So
I want to stop you there if I can to underline what you just said. Catholic abbeys. So those people who think Masons are subversives or an occult or up to no good, they don't know what they're talking about.
So
claro que no, because we're not, like you said earlier, we're not there to take over the world. Some of us might think that way or stuff like that, but we're not plotting to overthrow governments and stuff like that. Like if
we could if we wanted to.
Oh yes, because the bodies are there. There's right now locally, like there's a city in the Valley with a lot of Freemasons in their commissioner boards and as elected officials or family members.
Yeah.
And that city is so much thriving right now. And you can tell. You can tell when someone, I think for us community to improve, you got to have a Mason up there. At least, even if it's just a wife or the female daughter, the daughter of the son or the brother, because of the type of high moral integrity principles that we live by.
Yeah.
It's you do the right thing.
And Gary got in?
Sí, claro.
I was grandfathered
grandfather.
in. No, as a matter of fact, there's only 2 ways that you can never become a Mason. One is you're an atheist, and 2 is if you're a female. However, the Masons still have a body for females. It's called the Order of the Eastern Star.
And there's a chapter in Harlingen, and there's a chapter in Edinburgh.
But if you're an atheist, which is somebody who does not believe in God, you'll never, ever, ever become a Mason.
No, because that's not what we teach. That's not in every lodge that you, we thought earlier about Catholics and Freemasonry, and what I told some brothers a couple of days ago is that when I meet them, because I'm a Catholic, you know, and I'm a proud Catholic.
Knights
but
of
I'm-
Columbus.
They actually followed some of what we have Knights of Columbus members, former members in our lodge, and they would literally tell us that their initiation was similar to ours.
Yeah, I'm in
know?
Knights of Columbus.
So your initiation is similar to ours. They admitted that, and the founder of Knights of Columbus was just canonized by Pope Francis, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, and my point being is that you gotta believe in a God. You can't be an atheist. But if you go to our meetings, our actual lodges, you'll find a Bible there. You know, and again, ours goes back to 1717, United Grand Lodge of England, and of course back then they had the King James version. And that's the Bible. I'm not saying that we follow by or anything like that, but that's just like a symbol for us.
Yeah.
You know, when I got initiated, when I got raised to a Master Mason degree level, I used the New International Version. You know, they asked me, "Do you want to do your obligation on the Catholic St. Joseph?" And I said, "No, for me, it's a lot easier to read the New International Version," and that's what I used.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I used.
And there's a Bible in every lodge.
Multiple.
And
multiple
and in
Bibles.
every meeting, you guys you guys have Bible study as part of the curriculum for the.
I can't answer that.
The Bible studies, they're not literally
I
Bible.
can't answer that.
They're not literally Bible studies. They're every degree, especially the Interdependence Fellowcraft and Master Mason's degree, they have scripture in it, the
Okay.
ritual.
Okay.
And those are like our teaching points.
Hey, be careful. He might just leave too.
It's all everything in Masonry, especially. Look at me, I'm like from the valley now. Especially Knights Templar. It was based on Christianity. All the degrees that we went through in Corpus Christi a few weeks ago.
Like it's Catholic based.
Everything.
And like to be honest, in my point of view, my Masonic point of view, it's Catholic based because everything that we learn, it's straight out of the Bible. And what's the first Bible ever came out of? You know,
Yeah.
What's the first? Besides Judaism, you know, that's what we follow. You know, unfortunately, the
Can you
Bible's
be a
changed.
member of the Knights of Columbus and be a Mason at the same time?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so because even though, like I said, we have former members of Knights of Columbus, it was up to them to leave, you know, Knights of Columbus and then join us. But they don't have to. There's no obligation that's from our laws of the Grand Lodge of Texas or any laws of the Grand Lodge body somewhere that says that you cannot be a Knights of Columbus.
And you know, you said something.
Alhambras.
You said something earlier, Fabriel, about the numbers are shrinking, and you know, I've been a Mason a long time, and I've seen that the reason the numbers are shrinking is because Masonry does not recruit like Kiwanis. Hey, come join Kiwanis, come join Rotary or Elks Lodge or whatever. We do not recruit. Now, if you want to know about it, you just have to ask a Mason.
Yes, I cannot come. You know, we cannot say come join us.
No.
We have to say you wanna know more about us. Ask one of us. Ask one to be one.
Yeah.
Ask a brother Mason. Ask a brother, and how he can go in and stuff like that.
And on an average, in a year, how many people join the fraternity? Say like in the Brownsville chapter.
Right now, we have at least like 3 that came in this Masonic year.
Okay.
Masonic year. It does not mean that we don't have people interested. And I'm talking about 3 that are local from Brownsville.
Yeah.
That does not mean that we still have other brothers from other grand jurisdictions that moved into
And
Brownsville.
we've had about 4 come in McAllen.
Yeah, that's
And
good.
they're fully vetted, right? And
Well, the thing is how we vet them, Billy, is that I tell people that straight out that we do judge a book by its cover. I know we're taught that not to judge a book by its cover, but we do, because we cannot allow, like, again, an atheist. We gotta ask certain questions to see, okay, where is their integrity at in society? You know, we gotta go to their house. You know, if they have a house that's all messed up, beat up, and they don't have a job, and then they tend to want to be with us. And why is their house all beat up and they don't have anything to do all day? You know, so we got to literally ask certain questions. We got to know the heart of the person.
Yeah.
That's when we start living our obligations where I'm not saying that we're becoming God or Jesus, but Jesus says that we read the heart, right? That's what we do. We got to read the heart. We got to read the spirit where it's at. are they the type of people that we want in our fraternity to represent us?
Yeah.
Because we
Right.
can't have anybody just come over.
Have you
There's
ever
going
had
to be trouble.
Have you ever had a situation where you had to kick somebody out?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. We had to, years ago, we had a college student, and he started posting pictures when Facebook was barely starting.
Okay.
And he started like smoking, weed. I know weed that was allowed and stuff like that, but he was doing it for recreational purposes, branding AK with posters and signs of Freemason in the background. And he wasn't allowed to have those signs yet because he was just an intern apprentice.
Yeah.
And we found out, and he was just getting out of hand. We investigated, and the duplex was trying to get him out already, kick him out, and he had trouble already at the university level. We reached out to help him out on the personal level. He didn't want it, so we stopped him from moving forward. Said, you know what, you're not ready yet. And
You used the key word right there, help, because a Mason will help another. And in the McAllen Lodge recently, there was a brother who was having a hard time paying his dues. And just like that, one brother raised his hand and said, you know what, I'll pay his dues. And I'm like, wow, what a guy. What a guy. And as far as Masonry goes, how many bodies are there? We just mentioned York Rite. We mentioned Knights Templar. I'll let you name them.
at the moment,
Shriners?
I'm not sure yet. Like the actual number, because when you say Masonic bodies, there is a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And the top three, the main three is the Shriners.
Okay, let's
They're
stop
the
there.
ones-
The Shriners run the Shriners Burn Center.
Yes.
How evil are those guys? Fixing people who have
And the
been
Shriners Hospital, right?
Shriners Hospital. How
The Nice
evil are
Fest
those guys?
Nice
Yes.
Fest had, and they're almost duplicated, characterized in I forgot the name of the cartoon that comes out in Disney Channel, but they have the fez hat, the red fez and the black,
Yeah.
and that's pretty cool. They really do give us a nice publicity there with what they do in the Valley with the kids, around the world. And then you have the Scottish Rite.
The Scottish Rite Hospital up in Temple.
Yes.
How evil are those guys fixing sick kids for free?
And so,
That
Gary,
makes it-
you're Scottish Rite.
I'm
right?
York Rite.
You're York Rite.
York Rite and Knights Templar.
The Scottish Rite, they have also hospitals around, clinics around the state of Texas. They do a lot of literacy, educational, and they also have programs in which a brother can do the case management paperwork for the family or individual to help them financially.
Yeah.
So they do a lot, and I was a part of, I think, for 9 years for the Take Time to Read program for the Grand Lodge of Texas. 9 years. That's unheard of because usually just get 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And I sneaked in for 9 years, so that was pretty cool.
That's good. Well,
Yes,
you do a
yes.
lot. You do a lot, and
fun.
we really appreciate it. And Knights Templar has a charity which has to do with vision, right?
There's York Rite, and the York Rite bodies, that's where you have the Royal Archmasons, the Royal Select Masters, and what most of the people love is the Commandery Orders, and the top one is the Knights Templars.
Yeah.
Now, they have the Knights Templar Eye Foundation, but that Knights Templar Eye Foundation is not literally attached to us. It's something that was
It's something we support.
something we support greatly that was started at the Grand Encampment level. And they decided, the Grand Master at that time decided to open up some type of charity that we can do, just like the Shriners or the Scottish Rite clinics.
Yeah.
And that's what they have. So I encourage people to go to the ktef.org website.
Okay.
And that's the website for the Knights Templar Eye Foundation. And people can donate money there. What the money is
Or
used
get help.
Yeah, get help.
Yeah.
Yes. The money is used for research purposes. A lot of the eyes treatment that you see for the kids, for the adults, for glaucoma, cataracts, all these genuine, genius inventions, treatments, they're all basically come from our money that we raise.
Outstanding. That's good.
And that's something, again, that we support, strongly support. Have this personal goal to raise 25,000. So
Good.
far, I have like 1,500 raised.
Well, let's talk about that in just a moment. First of all, let's recognize our sponsors, the very great White Sands Marina in Port Isabel, Texas, owned and operated by veterans Arnold Flores and his wife, Corina Flores. They have taken that property and turned it into something else. I mean, A lot of people drive through there and by there on the way to the island without stopping. I'm suggesting to you, and it's only a suggestion, but I suggest you stop in there sometime, White Sands Marina, check out the rooms. They'll give you a tour. Those rooms are absolutely beautiful. I'm telling you, White Sands Marina in Port Isabel. They have an awesome restaurant. They have a great bar. And what's that bartender's name?
Johnny Barrera.
Johnny Barrera, yeah. Also, they have a marina there and access to about 35 boat captains that can take you out fishing or just a leisurely cruise up and down the bay and into the ocean.
And don't forget about SpaceX when they have a launch.
SpaceX. You can actually see the rockets lift off from the front porch of White Sands Marina. So for more information, to book your vacation right now at White Sands Marina, go to wsnandsuites.com. Also, Ward Thomas and Majestic Studios. That is where we are recording right now. Ward Thomas, one of our benefactors. And if you want to cut a hit record, right here is the place to be. Just look up Majestic Studios and Ward Thomas. Ward, thank you so much. And finally, our sponsor, our third sponsor, our corporate sponsor, the Texas sportsman, Fred Rodriguez. Gotta have it. And speaking of gotta have it, he has a Texas Senate proclamation naming him as the premier hunting and fishing guide in South Texas. Fred Rodriguez and the Texas Sportsman. Talk about this fundraising campaign you're onto.
Then with the Knights Templar Eye Foundation, what I have, my personal goal is to raise $25,000.
Okay.
When I raise those $25,000, one of the main reasons I want that sword. There's a Grandmaster's sword, a huge sword, and that's what I want. That's a personal goal, but it's really for the purpose of also helping out those kids, children that have needs for their eyesight. You know, here in the Valley for 3 years, I used to do the case management paperwork, the social work of for people that needed surgeries back in the day. Because back in like 10 years ago, we used to have a program within the Knights Templar Eye Foundation where if, for example, you, Billy, you needed some surgeries in your eyes, you would come to me. I would do paperwork for you. And if you qualified, man, each eye of yours, even if it costs $5,000, $8,000 each eye, you would have that money. And there was from kids to the elderly. And I used to drive the whole Rio Grande Valley for 3 years and help out those families. I used to meet them at their houses, of course, during the weekends, because I had my job, you know. And it was a great service, man.
Yeah.
I mean, those doctors.
Speaking of kids, we also have a kind of a children's chapter, right? The Dimole?
The Dimole.
Is
the
that-
Order of Dimole. It's for 9 years old to 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
14,
Okay.
something like that, or 11 to 21.
Now, to be a Mason, you have to be 25.
No, 18 years old.
To be a Mason.
To be a Mason, you have to be 18 years old now. It used to be 21,
Okay.
and then it went down to 18.
I think when I went in, it was 25.
More likely.
Yeah.
More likely.
I'm grandfathered in. Like, no, I am the grandfather.
And now girls, you know, like
Yeah, we'll let
there's,
you in here.
there's Gary, and then you go down to like 20-year-olds. So 20-year-olds.
Yeah,
Pablo,
you
let me ask you. So you're a Mason. So what do you do for a living?
I have 20 years in the teaching and social service sector. Over 20 years.
Well, that's awesome.
You know, currently, I guess, luckily for me, I've always been a hustler, and I have my company in the side that I do. You know, that I sell prayer novelties like prayer bowls, and of course, I have my family business and cabinetry. But I used to teach. I've been teacher of the year.
Let's get a what?
At what level? What level?
Can we get a what for Fabriel?
This is high school level.
High school. Okay.
Level, and most of my teaching experience has been at the alternative centers.
Yeah.
And working at those, it's been a blessing, because I wanted to work in those type of environments where you literally go down to purgatory and hell. Because at the alternative centers, gentlemen, there's kids that come from broken homes, severely broken homes. I've had to help, and I remember two teenage back then. We didn't have the term human sex trafficking. You know, it was just straight out prostitution.
Yeah.
And I remember turning those girls' lives around because they were not getting the right help. And I noticed they needed that extra help because of my special education background. And one of them, I helped stop prostituting herself because the dad would do that to get his drug fix money, you know? And
Wow.
the mom, the other one, the mom would just turn her eye around.
That is tragic.
It is, brother. Because those are I'm just trying to paint a picture of the type of students I was helping out.
Yeah.
You know, I've had students that were literally working with cartel. What do you call those plaza bosses? You
Yeah.
know, and kids, teenagers that came
So
out of state jail.
you brought those talents and those experiences into the fold of Masonry, and I think that's why a lot of people call on you to be involved in some of the, I don't want to call them harder things, but some of the more important things.
It's down my alley, and that's why I love the fraternity so much, because it's just something I do already naturally and as a career.
Yeah.
And in my career, it's helped me utilize and further the programs of the Grand Lodge of Texas or Grand Commandery, you know, or the Grand Royal Arch, the Texas Masonic Center, you know, retirement center.
A lot of times those kids also haven't had a hug or somebody tell them they love them. Is that correct?
Oh no, I can recall plainly right now. I can still picture the young man. I mean, no disrespect, but he was an open homosexual and stuff like that. And I remember calling him Mijo still. And his whole body just dropped. Boom. And with me, the rest of the school year at the Alternative Center, it changed for the better.
That's what he needed.
And
He needed somebody to make a connection to him.
And somebody who gave him
okay.
tough
It was
love
okay.
and paid attention to his needs. And
Yeah, you know, that's what they need. They need someone that believes in them.
Yeah.
You know, that they made mistakes, but just because they made mistakes does not mean they're bad people.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the environment they're in.
Correct.
You know, like you asked me earlier about we were talking about religion and stuff like that. I'm a Catholic again, and there's some 2 kids that I did help. I couldn't, because of TEA purposes, I cannot talk about religion to them. But somehow they got the hint of what I did and what I was doing, and they became Baptist. They went to their closest church. I'm like, man, just go to church, man. And they broke down when they told me I finally went to church and started bursting their eyes out. You know, that their life has just changed.
What a noble thing you did.
A lot of them don't get the chance to have somebody tell them they love them and have that support. From
it goes back to having that father figure in the family.
If you ever remember seeing if you guys ever saw the movie like South Central or the movie what do you call it, where Ice Cube comes out? No, Ice Cube comes out. Boys in the Hood type of movie.
Yeah.
Like I've had students like that.
Wow.
Like that kid that I'm telling you about that went to the Baptist church. I went to his neighborhood. You know, it's Mercedes. It's one of the toughest neighborhoods here in the valley, and you would drive into the neighborhood and you would see, you know, assault rifle type of bullet holes in the houses. You know, and you got to be careful when you get out because
no kidding.
you know, that's just that type.
There was a program in Dallas. I'm not sure where I read it at, but they asked for 24 fathers to just go and volunteer. 900 showed up for the school.
Oh, wow.
900 fathers.
So there is concern. People do want to help. They just have to have that call to action. And I think hopefully that's what we're doing right now. If you're listening and you hear something that any of us say or Fabriel says and the trigger is pulled on your emotions to get into your community and do something, by all means, do it.
Reach out to us.
You know, and Fabriel, at one of my first Knights Templar meetings, you had a very extensive slideshow going all the way back, I think, to the 1200s about Knights Templar. Can you give us a thumbnail description of that presentation without revealing any secrets?
I want you all to picture what the Freemasonry is right now. Back then, the Order of the Temples, it was French. Then you had the Order of Teutonics. It was German. And then the Hospitallers, which is Italian. Okay. Back then, there's a bunch of different orders. And those orders, think of them as professional organizations, just like what the Freemasonry is. It's a professional organization of men, of individuals, you know, with high moral integrity for the brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God. So they had all these orders, you know, and the Knights Templar had a big influence on that, you know, and it goes back, brother, all the way to like 940, 930 when the grandfather of the grandson of King Alfred the Great, man. It's like literally there's a degree in the York Rite College, the order, and it goes back then. You know, you'll find Masonry since the 1300s with the Regis manuscript, and think of that orders, all those orders, having some type of influence from Freemasonry. Like today, you mentioned earlier the Rotary Club. A lot of people, you do the history of the Rotary Club, Rotary International, because I used to belong to Sunrise Rotary in Brownsville. They used to, their first meeting they ever had was in a Masonic house in Chicago of a brother. You know, so did we have an influence in that, of what they believe in?
Absolutely.
You know, again, we spoke about the Knights of Columbus, you know, similar ritual work than us. You have the Elks Lodge. You have the Lions Club started from a Freemason, you know. In Brownsville, you have the Junior League of Brownsville. That's a service for the ladies. There's a Santa Club. I'm telling you, all these professional organizations, they all have a purpose. They all want to have some type of purpose. For whatever reason, they were not Freemasons. They were not. I guess they didn't make it or whatever. You know, they wanted something for their wives.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we have the Order of Eastern Star. That's when it came in. You know, now for the Shriners, there's also an organization for the wives. There's an organization for the daughters as well. You know, and think of it that way. As Freemasonry finally got organized, 1717, it has its major influence to other orders. Instead of calling them professional organizations, they will call them orders. You know, to help out that respective land, that respective country. You know, and that's why you have those Order Sebastian. The Order Sebastian, if you all seen Godfather Part 2, and in the beginning of the movie, somewhere around there, you see the Order Sebastian medal. And they tend to relate it a lot to Freemasonry, but it does not belong to Freemasonry, the orders. So every time they see something out there in the movie, they tend to want to relate it. You know? But if you're not one of us, you're not going to know if that's not true. You're not going to know, okay, that's true, that's not true. You know?
Now, do you guys, how do you guys bring in new members? You have it like once a year? Is it year round?
We tend to have activities, depending on the lodge that you're in. Sometimes they'll have open houses, invite people in the public to go over. But in reality, you also have you got to have at least 6 months of hanging out there at the lodge, respective lodge, because they need to get to know you.
Right.
You know, they need to get to know you. Unless you know 5 brothers who can vouch for you, you know, and they've known you for over 6 months, then you should be able to pass by.
And Gary
or they use a big paddle on you. Swatch
and Gary had 5
not that
brothers.
kind of fraternity.
No, Gary wrote the goat. Gary wrote the goat.
Billy doesn't know that.
It's not that kind of fraternity.
See.
Yeah, no, you know, I did it the hard way, and I'm not saying it's any easier now, but I do want to say it's hard, but it's not impossible. It's not easy, but it's possible. And
it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
So let me ask you something. Why does everybody get a bad sense of when you say Masonry?
Because they don't know.
People?
They don't know.
They don't know that. There's been like they take something small and they make it into a very huge deal.
Yeah.
Like you have that Morgan incident that happened in the 1800s. You know, he used to be a Mason and something happened to him. He disappeared. So they use that anti-Mason stuff like that. And like I told you earlier, like if I strongly believe you need someone of Masonic influence to be helping out your community. Why? Because we're going to be impartial. We teach tolerant about other religions because we do accept them. You know, the awesome, most beautiful thing I've experienced because of my other line of work of traveling around the country, I've literally sat down next to Muslims, you know, and back then in the day, Crusades time, you know, you had the Muslims and Christians, stuff like that, you know. And I was going over my ritual work on my commandery order of the temple. They're like, what's that? And they see the symbol. They know what it means. You know, I know the history behind it. But we're tolerant, man. One of the things that Muslim religion, Islamic religion, people think, and I think it's one of the most beautiful religions out there, if you take it for what it really teaches, just like the Christian religion, you know, the Jewish religion, you know. And I'm very fortunate of, you asked, like, why? Here's other examples. I'm an ancestor. My ancestor is Cardinal Francisco Jimenez de Cisneros. He's from Spain.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out in the book of Niccolo Machiavelli, The Prince, and if you see shows of dealing with Isabella the Great, the king and King Fernando and the queen,
they were the ones that commissioned Christopher Columbus.
Yes, to come over here.
Yep.
And he was supposed to be a saint, but he would literally try to. He was reforming the Vatican back then, and he had a lot of clashes with the Pope, and so they brought him down. So in that essence, you have, and one thing he did was he tried to commission a crusade, you know, and we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, there's no such, you know, back then, like, those things were done for a political purpose. Now our crusades are more like our personal vices. You know, you got to change your bad vices. You have a bad habit, change it.
Making good men better. You know,
exactly. That's where I'm trying to head to.
Yeah.
So you have other people that are not members. They don't understand what we're trying to teach. So they started making all.
But
these
it's easy to find
excuses.
out. Become a Mason.
It is. Or what I tell people is go to the actual website of the Grand Body, the Grand Lodge of California. The biggest thing that when you read an article on Freemasonry or a book in Freemasonry, most of those authors or of those articles or books, they're gonna have BRO. That stands for brother.
Yeah.
And once you have that BRO in there, you know it's from an actual Mason. You know, and there's a lot of websites, there's a lot of books, Netflix, YouTube documentaries that are false.
Yeah, they're all
They're
a lot
false.
of them.
And
You know, I would be remiss.
How
Fabriel.
do they portray you as what?
I've been attacked before for being a Mason in Brownsville. I
was going
have
to say
a-
before I was rudely interrupted by my partner of 37 years,
I've been
Billy
attacked.
Santiago.
I've been assaulted.
I would be remiss in not mentioning Brother Robert Wise from McAllen Lodge 1110, who was murdered right outside our lodge in July of 2023 just because he was a Mason.
Wow.
He left the meeting. He was the first one out the door, got to his truck, and this evil
Yeah.
criminal individual live streamed him sneaking up behind Robert Wise, ambushing him, and shooting him in the face and elsewhere in his body, and killing him right there. And
That's a
that
sad
individual, the criminal, the perpetrator, said that he did it because the Masons had put a curse on him, which has got to be the single biggest lie in the history of mankind, because the Masons do not put curses on
we're
anybody.
not. We're not the Antichrist. We're not even a secret society. You know, you want to read about what we are. There's books out there already. You know, like I just told you earlier, you just have to find the BRO, the title. You know, like it brought you. You reminded me of when I got verbally assaulted. I belong to I'm a lay associate for the Outlets of Mary Immaculate of St. Eugene de Macenat, you know, and that's a saint for the St. Eugene de Macenat, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And my spiritual director was there, Father Michael Messi, there in the Immaculate Conception Cathedral. And we had a member there that he disliked the fact that I was a Freemason. So every once in a while.
Based on what? Just what he had heard. Probably had no idea what he was.
No idea.
Yeah.
I literally gave multiple Masonic tours of our lodge.
Yeah.
For people that attended that cathedral church, and they were okay. But that's just one person, that one man, he just made my life miserable.
That's too bad.
Every once in a while.
It's because, I'm not saying he was ignorant, like an ignorant person, but he was ignorant, as most people are, of the temperament of Masons, of the goodness of Masons, of the willingness to help others that embodies Masonry. We're talking right now with Fabriel Cisneros. He's a Mason. He's also one of the leaders of the commandery of Knights Templar, and he's just a real good guy. If somebody wants to know more about Masonry, Fabriel, where would you send them?
They got to go to the Grand Lodge of Texas website. That's our headquarters website, you know. It's in Waco. Grand Lodge of Texas, AF and AM, Ancient Free and Accepted Masons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and from there, you're going to look, if you're from Corpus, there's a couple of lodges there in Corpus which you can join. Here in the Valley, there's like I said, there's 8 lodges, you know, from Brownsville, Port Isabel, Lodge 33. There's Harlingen currently. Mercedes Lodge meets in Westlaco, Llano Grande Lodge in Westlaco. Those 2 lodges meet there. There is Hope Lodge, that's the second oldest lodge here in the Valley. That's in Rio Grande City. You have Hidalgo Lodge, which meets in Edinburgh, and then you have McCann Lodge. You know, and it's a beautiful fraternity. It's like I said, it's not for everyone. What we do makes a difference. We are just a bunch of ordinary people that love to do
trying to do extraordinary things.
Yes.
Fabriel, thank you so much, man.
That's what we do.
Hopefully people reach out to you or to the Grand Lodge of Texas. We want to thank Fabriel Cisneros. And remember, Masons aren't here to hurt. They're here to help. We want to thank our sponsors, White Sands Marina, Port Isabel, Texas, Arnold and Corina Flores. Thank you so much for your trust in the Living Large Theater podcast. We also want to thank Ward Thomas, our benefactor, Majestic Studios, and also the Texas sportsman, Fred Rodriguez. Gotta have it.
Thank you all for having me here.
All right. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you all.
No, thank you.
Awesome.
And that's a wrap for Living Large Theater. Episode number, I lost count. livinglargetheater@gmail.com is where you can reach out to us. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Prime, and now on YouTube. Hashtag Living Large Theater Podcast. Reach out to us at 956-451-1633. Rate our podcast, share with a friend, leave a comment, and more importantly, hit that subscribe button. Until the next episode, you keep living large because you know we're living large.